Hi everyone, welcome to Blue Heron Hills. I'm Sue, here in the garden again. Yay, another harvest day. And behind me, this is my onion bed. And you say, oh, it's looking terrible. They're all flopped over. What happened? Did you have a windstorm? Rain, hail? No, the plants themselves had told me it's time to harvest. Now, backing up a little bit in the springtime, it's important. There are different types of onions, and they're called short day or long day, or there's some that are even an intermediate day. And that refers to the length of time that it takes for that particular variety of onion to start bulbing up. I live in a latitude that requires long day onions, and that would be the northern latitudes. Down in the southern latitudes, those closer to the equator, they have short day onions, meaning their onions start to bulb quicker than mine do. So when you go to order your onions way back in the early spring, most companies will tell you when you type in your zip code, if you're in the United States, or your area code or whatever, they will tell you that you are required to buy a certain type of onion. So how do you tell if your onions are ready to harvest? Well, the most obvious sign comes when the tops fall over, and they fall or bend over very naturally, and it signals that the bulb has reached its full size, whether it's a teeny tiny bulb or a very large bulb. Of course, we're looking for the very large bulbs, but that all depends upon how you've fertilized and watered your onions during the course of the season. So that was the first time. Also, when they do fall over, it's because the neck softens up a bit. And this is the neck is where the leaves meet the bulb. And it'll feel soft and pliable, which indicates the transfer of the nutrients that are going from the leaves down to the bulb. Also, another sign is when you have dying off of the leaves. They start turning brown. This is actually signaling, of course, that the plant is reaching its end of life or full maturity. Now, you may come across instances where the majority of your tops have fallen over naturally, but you still have a few standing upright. If they are still standing upright, it means that the bulb itself has more growth to do. But if for convenience sakes, it is not beyond the fact that you can knock or bend that neck over, and the same thing will start to happen as to your onion as has happened naturally to the rest of your onions. Or you can just leave it in the ground, harvest your other ones, and let that one continue to grow, and then go through the process with those that were still upright when you were harvesting the majority. But for convenience sake, I just knocked them all down. I think all of mine are down. I've noticed for the last week, they've been in the ground. Their necks have flopped over, and it's okay just to leave them in the ground, but you don't want to leave them indefinitely into the ground. So the next step would be harvesting these onions. So let me take you a little bit closer so you can take a look and see what I'm talking about. Okay, when to harvest? Tops have fallen over. Now you need to look at your forecast, because rain is the enemy. Moisture is the enemy. Water is the enemy of your onions at this point in time. You don't want moisture to accumulate on a crop that is trying to dry out. So look ahead in your forecast after it has rained, perhaps a couple days before. Things have gotten dried out on top, and then if you're not going to have rain within 5 days to a week, that is optimal. According to my forecast, there's very little rain predicted in the next week. So this is the day I've earmarked. It hasn't rained in about 3 days, I think. And so this is the time to start. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them out of the soil, and they're going to start their curing process right here in the garden, where the sun can get at them and help start the curing process. So I'm going to pull one out. We're going to talk. Here's a nice specimen. It has flopped over, obviously. It's a good size onion. You can tell that it's squishy here at the neck. So the moisture is not going back down to the onion itself. And the onion itself is not receiving any more nutrients. And you can see the papery skin has started to form on the onion, and even some of the leaves have started to dry out. So this is going to get laid right back down in the bed, right like that. A couple of nice sunny days are now going to start the curing process for these onions. If they do not come out easily in the ground, I usually rotate them a little bit and then pull them upright like this. If they don't come out of the ground nicely, mine are sitting close to the top, you might need to take a little fork and just gently pry the soil around them just to loosen them. I generally twist a little bit and pull. And then I'm going to be laying them down, not really back in their hole, but up here. Here's another one. I don't know if you can see this guy here. He's pretty large. He's really in there. Do a little bit of a twist of the bulb and then a pull. That is a beautiful, beautiful specimen. So the object of the curing process is to dry this whole upper part off and to seal this junction right here between the bulb and the leaves. And that helps, along with the papery skin, which is now going to form even more, that it's now being exposed to the air and to the sunlight. That is going to seal out any moisture, because you want the bulb of the onion itself to stay moist, and you want it to seal the bulb off from any bacteria or mold or anything like that that is growing or attaching up here through this. Don't cut these off. That's not important right yet. They're only going to get cut off or not used when they fully dry out. Now, there's nothing wrong with eating these fresh. Actually, when they're fresh out of the ground like this, they're a little bit sweeter. And as they cure, the sugars of the onion then change to that pungenciness of the onion that we so well know for our cooking purposes. That's why when you have varieties like Walla Walla, you know, those sweet onions, they don't last as long, and they're best to be eaten pretty quickly. Another thing would be not to wash these. They're going to sit out here in my sunshine for about 4 or 5 days. If I have a threat of rain, then I'm going to be pulling them in. But you don't want to wash any of this dirt off. You want that papery skin to form completely. See here, here's a little spot that's nice and glossy. That will turn just as brown as this paper right here. And it will be sealing in the onion from any bacteria or fungal infections that might be existing in their environment. Now, after they've sat in my garden and dried out a little bit more, after 4 or 5 days, I'm hoping, I'm going to keep my eye on the weather. If there is any chance of rain, that's when I will haul them out of here and take them into a well-ventilated area. If you have some kind of a cart or something like that you could pull in and out of the sunshine daily, that's probably optimal. I am going to be putting these in my greenhouse. If you saw my video on garlic, I store my garlic underneath my deck. Sometimes I will store the onions there also. After a few weeks in my greenhouse, which is nice and hot and away from the rain or any moisture they may fall, then I'm going to put them under that porch so they get more drying time. Not sun, they won't be getting sun, but they will get plenty of airflow and plenty of drying to finish their cure. The whole curing process, unfortunately, may take up to 4 weeks, depending upon your climate and your conditions. You just have to keep an eye on the actual bulb itself. Does it have a completely papery skin? Are all of the leaves totally dried out? Are they all really crunchy and brittle? And is this neck just so, not even soft anymore, just brittle? And that will signal that this is perfectly fine then to go into long-term storage. Some people braid their onions. I have a great little video that I'll put up, I think up here, about how I form a type of a braid around twine. And that's how usually I store my onions. So I'm going to get these all harvested, and you'll see how they're all laid out once they finish. I'll be back. Here is this year's crop. I have red onions. I had a row of red onions along this side, and all the rest are Patterson. I think it's Red River, it's the red one, and Patterson are the yellow onions. My bed got a little crowded, so I decided to put some here in my defunct brassica bed. I am getting ready to plant out my seedlings for my fall garden, for my brassicas, but these should be fine here for 4 or 5 days if we don't get any rain. And then I'll start prepping this bed for fall gardening. Oftentimes I do my sign out in my bean arbor, but this is a bean arbor. It's kind of my secondary bean arbor. These beans here are Trailatiers beans. You can see I have tons of them just everywhere. these are Trail of Tears beans, and I leave them on and let them dry, and then I harvest them into September, late September, when all of the vines dry, all of the beans are nice and dried out, and I can harvest those black beans for use during the winter months. So I hope you enjoyed this video on harvesting onions, curing onions, although they are just in my garden, just at the start of the curing process. I'll probably post a couple little shorts or something about what they look like in 3-4 weeks to see if they are fully dried out, fully cured, and maybe I'll even do another little primer on how I braid them up, like I have in that video. So I hope you like this video. Hope give me a thumbs up, please, if you haven't already. Subscribe, and until the next time that we can go digging in the dirt, happy gardening. Bye.